is being held at Ethiopia from May 1st to 3rd, 2019. And UNESCO, New Delhi, Facebook, and other partners are collaborating to organize the observance of this World Press Freedom Day for the South Asian sub-region in the Maldives. Media for democracy, journalism, and elections in times of disinformation is the theme this 26th year edition of World Press Freedom Day. The theme concerns the current challenges faced by the media in times of elections and the growing prevalence of disinformation, along with media's potential in supporting democracy and reconciliation. We're very pleased to have with us to do this discussion Mr. Pankaj Pachauri, who's an eminent TV anchor and journalist, and is also the founder editor of Go News, an app-based TV channel. Welcome, Pankajji.
Thank you.
As the elections are going on in India right now, I think this is a very important subject for all of us. And two very important universal rights, the Article 19 and Article 21, right to elections and right to expression, become very, very critical during polls, as we have seen. It's also time for extreme stress on free, independent, and safe journalism. And who better than you to tell us about it, especially on its ability to contribute to democracy. And for us, the fourth pillar is the free and independent media. So let me start by asking you this particular question, is that in this changing landscape, especially the media landscape in India, which is unique in itself because of its diversity and its huge size, the whole dimension of technology coming in, and you have a wonderful initiative of Go News. In this landscape, how should freedom and press freedom and electoral regulations apply to such new technological innovations that we are seeing? So tell us from your own experience, for example.
Thank you, Vasanti. First of all, I'd like to thank UNESCO, and I'd like to thank Facebook and UNESCO for this is the third year that we are participating with World Press Freedom Day,
Yes.
and they have been doing basically the job which the journalists should be doing, and that is fighting for their freedom. So thank you all for that, and I hope that you have enough traction from people you are coordinating with all over the world, that this planet has become freer and more and safer for journalists. So that's one
Absolutely.
thing to begin with.
Absolutely.
Secondly, when you're talking about India and the kind of elections we are having right now, this I believe is the second uh, election in India where the media, as we knew it in the Western democracies,
Yes.
has become so important.
True.
And in that, with media, which gives people choices. Our job in media is to give people choices and inform them about those choices.
Right.
And the choices in an election in India, we have more than 70 parties, we've got 7 phases of polling, we've got 900 million people voting, we've got millions of government servants involved in it. So it's a huge exercise. And media plays a very important role in that, in giving people information about their candidate, the political parties,
Parties.
and the issues which are in that election.
Critically, the issues are.
Very critical. So, as far as India is concerned, we have right now connectivity to the tune of about 80% of the country is connected somehow. They either have a cell phone, which is their connectivity, or they have a television set, which is 180 million. We have newspapers, and last heard that 330 million newspapers were sold in a day in India.
Yes,
so
true.
it's a huge number.
Numbers are mind-boggling.
Yeah. So the pressure is on media from political parties, from candidates,
Yes.
and from special interests
That's true.
to give their point of view in the election and to choose candidates which are going to represent their agenda in the Parliament of India.
That's
so
right.
that's how sum total. It becomes very. This election, there has been if you look at the media spent just by political parties, it's close to $1 billion, which is a huge amount of money for a poor country like India. And it's on TV, it's on roads, it's on social media.
It's everywhere, basically.
It's everywhere. The trouble right now is that if you have more money, then you can put across your viewpoint more forcefully.
That's unfortunate.
And that's unfortunate, and that undermines lots of interests which don't have money riding on that. So that's a very difficult situation. Like, I'll just give you one example.
Yes.
Forest rights.
Right.
Now there are about 116 parliamentary seats where the forest dwellers, scheduled tribes are living there. They have a kind of needs and they have a kind of issues which no one is ready to invest in.
Okay.
Because no one is worried about what happens to a forest where a forest dweller is eking out a living.
True.
Those issues are totally absent in the entire campaign. So that's what's happened. It's very lopsided discussion which is going on.
It is in a sense a lopsided, but the focus that I want to bring you out in is that in a sense, how would you look at press freedom in this election versus a couple of other elections that you've seen yourself? I think with the changing landscape, has that affected? Yes, you're right. The concerns that you mentioned do get reflected in some corners. Perhaps others do get more attention than what is required. But in terms of press freedom per se in the electoral processes, how would you see what are the changes and what new has been made, especially in the media organizations like yours, or for example even digital organizations like Facebook? How do you think they have coped with this changing landscape, and what are they doing to take that forward?
It's very important that you raise that issue. India has had the largest number of internet shutdowns,
right,
in the world. And as we are reaching and we are going through this election, right now Jammu and Kashmir, the entire valley has been shut down on internet.
Right.
Now that's press freedom, because the people who need to know their information through social media or through online information
they have completely no access.
They have no idea what's going on in the rest of India,
other than the newspapers that they get.
And getting newspapers to these places is the far flung places.
TV and radio do the job.
So TV and radio do the job, and that because the radio in India doesn't have
that kind of
access to news. There is no private news on radio.
Of course.
So they are getting only one kind. Radio is state-owned. Radio news is state-owned in India. So they are getting only one kind of narrative about this election.
True.
And it's very important because the Valley of Kashmir has gone through a lot of turmoil. There is right now a shutdown of the main highway for 2 days a week. So people do not have information. So that's one kind of problem media
freedom is facing currently.
Social platforms are facing, online world is facing.
True.
Second kind of problem is that the reporters are actually under physical threat.
I was coming to that.
We have reports from West Bengal.
Yes.
We have reports from Kerala. We have reports from the northeast of the country that reporters doing their job are being targeted.
Absolutely.
So that's absolutely horrible.
Not at all acceptable.
We have lost 3 journalists in the last 1 year.
Yes.
To mob attacks.
Actually, more. In fact, I have figures. India actually ranks 14th on the 2018 Global Impunity Index ranking, with 18 unsolved murders just in 2018. Unsolved.
I'm just talking about the election.
You said 3 in this election. That's pretty scary.
So that's the media is under attack. Media is being throttled, and that's simply because that the special interests who want media to give their narrative and push their agenda are against it.
Physically intimidating.
They're physically stopping.
Yes.
And the Supreme Court has time and again said these things, that the airwaves are free. When they talk about airwaves, they talk about the Doordarshan, which is the state-owned broadcaster, that they should give enough coverage or a judicious coverage to all political parties. And recently, the opposition said that their leader was not getting enough coverage, and the government ministers and government functionaries was getting more coverage. Though in India we have a very robust election commission.
That's right.
But election commission has no powers. Election commission cannot write to the state broadcaster or to media houses that you have to be unbiased
at
this time of electioneering and campaigning. So that's the second thing. The third thing is the distribution of money. Now,
Note for moat.
yeah.
Hmm.
Now the problem in India right now is that the media market is very skewed.
Mhm.
The people can raise revenue
Mhm.
only from two sources. One is
Advertising.
corporate houses, which is advertising, and the second is the
Subscription.
government.
Oh, government. Oh, you're not talking about
Government.
subscription at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Subscription in India is
Doesn't
far and
survive.
few between. It doesn't survive. The entire television has less than 10% subscription
That's right.
revenue. So
Government and corporate.
So the government, by squeezing media, not giving them revenue, can change
The whole discourse.
discourse and
Yes,
debate which is
yes.
going on. There have been
So-
complaints, and even this election also, there have been complaints from big media houses in the regions of India, in say Rajasthan, in Chhattisgarh, in Madhya Pradesh, in Delhi, and especially in the north, the far-flung areas, that the government has killed their revenue and
That's
not
true.
giving them.
So the stress that is under
So there are
the
three
media is,
stresses.
these are the kind of stresses that they are in. But I just want to come back to the electoral reforms and regulations. And you mentioned about Election Commission of India. It actually had very interesting, stringent suggestions for the new media and the digital. For example, it brought out that in the last 48 hours before the polling day, you're not able, you should not be promoting yourself on social media. Also, it has actually said, but we don't have any exclusive kind of regulation or policy for them. It's all self-regulated as of now.
See, this is the first time I think in the history of the world,
Right,
that in a large democracy, almost every big social media platform had gone to the Election Commission of India, and it's absolutely laudable.
it is,
And-
because they're putting out facts and figures online
Absolutely.
openly also. Yeah,
And they have given a sort of code of
conduct.
to the Election Commission that we are going to adhere to this.
Yes.
Okay, and it's absolutely laudable. And it has to be self-regulatory,
Yes, it should
And-
be.
which is right, absolutely. But despite that, there is no control in terms of how do you monitor this.
So that's where I was coming. Yeah, how do you
How-
monitor who is doing
How
doing
you
deviant?
monitor that which platform
Yes.
is adhering to it and which platform is not,
Not
adhering
adhering
to
to
it,
it,
because
yes.
the Election Commission and the government of India, they don't have the wherewithal.
Right.
Okay, recently we had a case that a Chinese app called TikTok
Yes.
was banned in
In,
the
some
state of
so-
Tamil Nadu,
Yes.
but the government and they themselves, both the platforms who had those app, they put a stop to it. Okay, so you
Themselves.
can't download it further. The people who are already in are already in.
Okay.
So my worry is that the code of conduct, when it's come into operation, the people who already are inside the wall,
Right.
they can do whatever they feel like.
Okay. Okay. So who's going to monitor that?
So who's going to monitor that?
And who's
Because
going to
we have
check
no
that?
idea.
That's
Because-
important, right?
Because the government of India and the Election Commission of India, they don't have the kind of servers you need, kind of technology you need to monitor that. So that is what really worries me about this election.
True, it is a worrying thing, but I mean, while we are celebrating the elections and also the freedom of press in throughout the world, and especially in India, that, as you rightly pointed out, these are the stresses that we need to focus on. Now, let me just go back to a little bit on the safety of journalists. I think that's a key thing. I mean, the economics and the other pressures we can deal with, but how do you deal with threats to journalists? For example, I was just mentioning the facts and figures, like Reporters With Borders India lists India 138 in the World Press Freedom Index, primarily because there have been threats, and we've seen it over the past few years.
It's become worse.
It's become worse.
We have gone down to 140 now
Okay.
in 180 countries,
Okay.
and we've actually
Scary.
slipped to places.
So
in
how
that.
how do you think we can, I mean, we obviously want to stop it, but how do you counter it? Can we make it more formalized, more institutionalized, to see that and track it to make sure that people are punished and this doesn't happen in future?
See, if the media is worried about its future, the media has to come up for a solution itself.
Okay.
When I was launching our platform,
Yeah,
Go
the
News,
Go News.
we had no place to go to where we can submit ourselves to self-regulation.
Oh, so there's no peer body.
Because there's no peer body in terms of social media
Okay.
and digital media.
Digital platforms.
So what we decided was to do and become members of News Broadcasters Association,
NBA.
which is basically meant for television. Yeah,
Which is a different medium altogether.
Yeah, but since we were doing a lot of video,
Mhm.
we thought they come closest to us.
That's right.
And we did that. We became a member of
But
that.
how many are you, like people like you would do that? I mean, there are so many others.
Only one more platform has come forward
Oh, okay.
to do that. And I thought that a lot of platforms will come forward to become part of that,
Mhm.
because that's a body which is actually semi-officially recognized by the government of India.
True, it is.
So if we have a problem as broadcasters, we
Mm.
can go to the government with our problem.
So you're saying
And
that
we have a code of conduct, a
Yes.
code of ethics, and we have a retired judge who sits on
yeah,
complaints
I'm aware of
if
it.
we get any complaint.
Right.
So the media
So are
on
you
whole
saying
has
that the
to come
media
up like this.
together, and especially peer bodies like that, need to also step up to look at the threats against and attacks on journalists?
The
Because
next,
that's not happening right now.
that's not happening right
Yeah.
now. Because if you have some sort of regulatory system, then you can go to the authorities and tell them that my association's members reporter was threatened,
Yes.
or a reporter was killed or attacked or something.
The Press Council of India is supposed to handle it, of course, but that doesn't happen.
Press
As we
Council-
can see facts and figures like this.
Press Council of India, again, they like the Election Commission, they don't have enough teeth. And if
nothing
the,
happens after.
if the Press Council of India had power
Mhm.
to say stop broadcast
Mhm.
for 3 days or 2 days or 24 hours,
Mm.
then it would work.
Yes. And
Because then it's going to hurt that platform, that television channel, or that newspaper
Yes.
financially.
But the INB ministry has done that, not for any political or during the elections, but otherwise they have stopped broadcast
Yeah.
in some of them. So there is power, but it hasn't been used, I guess,
It's been used, I think it's not being used judicially.
judicially. That's the right word. Yeah.
Yeah, because the justice has to be done.
Right. And or seem
number
to be
two,
done.
And
More
justice,
importantly.
seen to be done.
Yes.
So since there's no transparency that why the
That's
INB
key.
is stopping broadcast of one channel or the
Mhm.
other channel, there has to be transparency. In self-regulation, there has to be transparency.
Mm.
If I get 5 complaints on a particular story and people say that these are not good and these are bad for the society,
Mm.
I have to put that thing on
On
air
air.
and say that we are sorry that we did this and we are not going to do this in the future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Be more accountable, and also, as you rightly pointed out, the impunity. I mean, the people get away with whatever they can do, and we are not able to do or say, and a kind of the loss of faith and credibility to such institutions like you mentioned, Press Council or others, is because of that. So we all have to step up, I guess, academic institutions like and media organizations like yours, to kind of step into what we can do to help.
So the Election Commission finally is a self-regulatory body.
It is.
It's a constitutional
But-
self-regulatory body.
But yes.
So we need now
Mm.
in India such self-regulatory system
Mhm.
by which the digital media can abide by some sort of code of conduct
That's
or code of ethics, or a system where people can go and complain if they have complaints,
Mhm.
and the system should address that. We need
Yes.
addressability.
Addressability.
Right
yes.
now, we don't have addressability. If you look at the social media today,
Yeah.
you are saying that 48 hours before voting,
Mhm.
all campaign should end.
Mhm.
The campaign ends, it doesn't end because these are continuing. My platform is a continuing platform.
Yes.
So whatever I'm putting on, if there's a politician I want to support,
Mhm. It can go on and on and
they
on.
can it can go on and on. So we need to have
somehow have some balance,
some sort of a balance.
addressability that you rightly pointed out.
addressability we need for that,
Hmm.
and that would be good for the freedom of press
Hmm.
as well as for the freedom of
Of the democracy or
democracy
electoral.
and right to choice.
So actually, the other very important thing that we see in India, and I guess in all over the world, is this note to vote phenomena that you talked about earlier, which actually undermines not only the right to elections but also the right to expression in many ways, as you can tell. But I think the independent free media that we have in our country plays a very critical role in this particular whole tracking this whole phenomena and how it's influencing the whole democracy. What is your observation on this whole phenomena, and what do you think we can do as journalists to counter that?
I have seen, the 35 years of journalism, that earlier this used to be very crude.
Right.
That you'll give someone cash,
Tax,
or you'll give someone, say, a bottle of booze or
yeah.
something like that, or you'll distribute some goodies to
Mhm,
people
mhm.
and ask them to vote for you.
Yes,
Now, there's a ban by the Election Commission on
on
that.
that.
But this is becoming more and more sophisticated
Absolutely, and organized.
and organized.
Mm.
And you have politicians saying that if you don't vote for us, we are not going to uh, bring in development
Mhm,
and government grants
mhm.
to the regions which are not voting for us.
Yes.
Now, that's absolutely abominable.
Yeah, but I think it's very important that these stories, and I think the number of money that has been seized, for example, or the reportage that is we're seeing on popular channels and newspapers and platforms like yours, is that we are seeing stories of how blatantly this is happening. Hopefully, that will inform the voters, to be a little more cautious and be careful about how they vote.
See, my thought about this is that to stop bad media, what we need is more media.
More media,
Yeah.
or preferably good media.
Yeah, more media, because
Okay.
more media in itself
Is
will
a
give you some more aware media
okay,
and more information.
right.
So as long as people get that information,
But not more of the same thing. That's always the fear. That's what we saw on television, right?
Yes, yeah.
Especially television news.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's something that did undermine the whole television credibility.
Yeah, it does, because see, ultimately what's going to happen is that the television people will realize that because their credibility going down,
Mhm.
their numbers are going down,
Absolutely.
the growth is not enough, and if the growth is not enough, it
Then
will hurt them
the economics,
where
the business model.
where it really hurts, and that's financially.
Yes.
And then they will change their model.
Mhm.
Like the new media which is coming up, it's coming up with different kind of models. Our model
Right.
is basically not to take money from the government and not to take money from the corporates, and take the money from non-profits.
Okay.
Okay, like UNESCO, UNICEF,
Mhm.
and
Other bodies like that.
other bodies like
Mm.
that. You take the money from
Mm,
that, so
mm.
you are responsible, because these are the organizations which have a very robust what do you call accountability in terms of
Yes.
their finances, their accounting, and all that. So
Very
you are
important. When you're talking about financials, I wanted to bring in the idea of the concept of media ownership in our country, especially,
Yes.
and how that influences press freedom in countries like ours, where, of course, you said more media is better, but more media owned by the same person or same organization, is that better? Clearly not.
We are sadly not one country,
Thankfully.
and we try to treat India as one country.
It isn't. We can't do that.
It's not. It's
Especially
not like
you can't undermine the regional channels and their expo.
See, only
content.
14% of Indians
Right.
earn more than $5.50 a day.
Mhm.
So that means that the middle class is very small.
True.
Now, the middle class wants a Western type of media freedom.
Yes.
But when you apply that media freedom to people who are earning less than $2 a day, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Huh?
It doesn't work because that person doesn't have enough money to buy more media.
Right. So what
absolutely.
do you offer them? What are the choices that are available to them?
So for that, number one, we need state-owned media, which is a benchmark.
Right.
Number one.
Yes.
Which is a benchmark like the BBC, like the
We do not have that yet, is what
PBS,
you're saying. Yeah.
in US, C-SPAN, and
Which is
even the Canadian broadcasting,
which is
very
accountable
good.
again
Again.
and objection.
So for
Objective.
them, we need that media, and the rest of the media, we can say, okay, fine, media is a business, and you are in a free market, and you do what you feel like.
Right.
So then the people, different kind of people have different kind of choices.
True.
If you are earning $6 a day and above, you can go and you can buy your set-top box or whatever, and you can do that. Okay. And if you can't afford it, then you have a state-owned media which is giving you free information.
Or a public service broadcaster.
Absolutely. Or public service broadcaster.
Yeah, which is very important, that it is not just this one kind of discourse that you're hearing. You have to get multiple options, multiple narratives.
So that is the problem in India, that we want the best of the free market.
Right.
Okay. And then we forget that the free market is not going to serve the people who are not the market.
True.
Like in Odisha, if you look at,
we serve the citizens, not the markets. Consumers versus citizens.
Yeah. So there has to be one kind of media which is serving the citizen, and
yes.
there has to be one kind of media
which
is serving the
consumers.
Market. Yeah. An Indian market is big enough. If you
Huge.
look at 14% of India is it's larger than Europe.
True.
So it's a huge market,
Mhm.
but we need to find the systems. We need to
Yes.
find
Models.
processes and models
Yes.
which fit for all, because one shoe will not fit for all
For a
in
country
India
like
in
India,
terms
which is
of
so
India.
diverse,
Never.
languages, economic status, everything. Yeah. No?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So the media ownership, as you pointed out, is clearly the models will have to be re-engineered and
Revisited, yeah.
reworked for India per se. Okay, let me just come to the final. In your 35 years of professional journalism, I mean, we all feel, and that's why we're having this conversation, is that it does play a very important role and very distinct role to counter what we are now looking at in terms of emotive content or disinformation or fake news, as we really see, and even the private messaging during elections. What is your take on this, and how are you seeing that we are able to cope with this?
See, it's a very funny thing that you asked me that question. In 2004 and 2009 elections, we thought that the cutting edge of persuasiveness in the media was the SMS.
Yeah, we felt
And
that was it.
Yeah, I remember, 2004, the then Prime Minister,
Hmm.
Atal Bihari Vajpayee, you used to get this SMS, and when you press on it, and there'll be a audio message from the Prime Minister, "मैं अटल बिहारी वाजपेयी बोल
बोल
रहा
रहा
हूँ,
हूँ."
and please this go and
Yeah.
vote, and they'll talk about it. So that was thing.
That was the
In
top of the edge at that time.
2004, this happened.
We are now in 2019.
Yeah, 2009 elections, I could see the beginning of the social media platforms like
Coming
the
up,
Facebook
yes.
coming up, and they became the
Quite-
new persuasers.
Right,
Okay?
influencers.
Influencers. They became a new influencer. 2014, it was the social media which really
drove the
agenda.
campaign and agendas.
And the company which was earlier somewhere else, I think WhatsApp, which was bought by Facebook, they became the main vehicle.
drivers.
Yeah, vehicle of
Yes.
political messaging.
As what we're seeing right now.
This year, people were telling me it was the TikTok,
It's the TikTok.
which was running the agenda.
Okay.
And since TikTok had no office in India, since TikTok was not as responsible
or accountable,
as other tech platforms who have offices in India, they have people in India,
right.
They can be called by the election commission, and they can go and talk to election commission.
Yes.
So that's why it had to be banned, because the government had no way of reaching to them. Like in 2014, when I was working in the government, and we were worried about social media, that what kind of message it's spreading, and there were riots in the south of India and all that. We had no one that I can pick up a phone and call someone.
I said, please stop this.
You are creating this problem.
Right.
Please, what can we do about it?
Right.
There was no one in India. So we were dealing with people in California and.
But things have changed quite a bit now.
Yeah. Now I'm very happy that all the tech platforms are taking responsibility. They've opened their offices in India.
Right.
There are people dealing with it.
And they're quite responsive in terms of actions that have already been taken.
They are newspaper ads.
Yes.
They are newspaper ads telling people that what is fake news and what is not fake news.
Yes.
And which
That's
is
very
a
important,
very good thing.
Because as a citizen, I won't understand what is fake and what is not.
Yeah.
So this whole campaign for fake news or disinformation has been very useful.
I'll be very happy that the same campaigns are also run on the same platforms.
Okay.
Okay. Because if I get like 10 WhatsApp messages,
right.
If I get one WhatsApp message out of 10, like 10% of it, that this could be fake news kind of a thing, and how to
check, verify.
Yeah, how to verify fake news and stuff like that, I'll be very happy.
Right.
Because the advertisements in newspapers is a different audience.
Yes.
Than the people on this thing.
Yeah.
Like in my office, people were telling me that some of the newer platforms, I mean, people don't even know about it. And they have huge following. They have millions and tens of millions of people following it. And there's a different audience altogether. They don't watch TV. They don't read newspapers. They're not even on Facebook. So
social media.
So how do you get to them?
Right.
That you make some
it's
sort
still
of
a challenge.
System that you have to show whatever you are doing transparently about curtailing bad information.
Disinformation.
Disinformation.
Yes,
Sorry.
misinformation. Okay. Finally, I think this is quite an interesting discussion with you, and because we are very hopeful for the role that media will play, especially press freedom in the democracy that we're having this conversation on at this platform. Any final take on where we are going?
We are as a world, as a planet, are at a very uh, precarious juncture.
True.
We have a problem where now democracies are being run by autocrats. No, I'm not joking, and
No,
I'm
no,
not
it's
saying
not.
it
It's
lightly.
true. Of course.
I'm
of
not
course.
saying it lightly.
Absolutely.
And they have misused to quite an extent the media platforms which we've had
Across.
across. So they can't misuse the media platforms. I think if the media platforms came together, I gave you the example of the Press Council of India,
yeah,
of the News Broadcast Association. Now, the government cannot streamroll news broadcasters because 80% of the television channels are on this platform. So they have a collective bargaining.
Right.
What I would hope that the media platforms globally have some sort of a system by which they have this collective bargaining.
Right.
So the heads of state, the political parties with oodles of money cannot force them and cannot control them.
So the
cannot control the message.
So what I'm understanding is, I mean, coming together.
Coming
together. And I also wanted to kind of bring in the role of civil society. You mentioned about organizations like UNESCO or CMS or academic organizations.
Yes.
I think they are also very important in actually strengthening what role media plays in this whole democratic setup. I think how we can do it is something that is still not yet worked out, at least in our country. We have some very good examples, and we have done some
very
good
models.
work and models. We have done that, but it hasn't been scaled up, or it hasn't been used more that it is required to.
We have very good models, and I think the more of
coming
people
together,
coming together,
or institutions coming together, civil society players coming together is also very critical. I think that's when we call
all the media organizations globally or here, they all have their foundations, they all have their
NGOs,
and not for profits and all that to help them. I think they should also come together, get other people. You have all the UN agencies will be very happy.
They are very happy to actually part of the media and civil society discourse.
And to become part of it. And very important, you talked about going to Addis Ababa this year and Maldives this year. This year, that the countries which don't have wherewithal
or resources
to deal with it, or the resources to deal with it, that they will also be on that platform.
True.
And they would be in a better place to counter disinformation and have a healthier democracy.
So sharing and coming together are the key things to make, of course, press freedom much more viable and something that we can look forward to. So I think thank you very much, Pankaj. It was a pleasure having with you and having this conversation.
And all the best again for World Press Freedom Day.
Yes.
Always with you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So thank you very much.